How's it going? Welcome to another live, and today I am showing off one of probably the clubs that I've been asked the most about, and that is the Kirkland Signature wedges by Costco. Now, one of the things is, as a club builder, is I want to know what goes into them, right? Like, it's one thing to just test performance, and TXG, we tested a lot of stuff and it's performed really well. But the other side of this is what actually goes into a club like this and what goes into the design. Let's talk about the components, because that's my thing. I take things apart. I want to know how and why they work. And in reality, when it comes to anything else, these Kirkland wedges are one of those things where I was really curious about actually testing them out and pulling them apart. Now, if we're going to talk components, we'll start from the grip and work our way to the head, because it is the most important aspect of it. And the grips are really basically just a standard rubber grip, really thin grip tape that they use, like a lot of other OEMs, like major OEMs that you would find. So there's nothing too much going on with this. It's an inexpensive velvet style grip, very easy. Next up, we have the True Temper shaft. Now, we know it's True Temper because it says Kirkland Signature powered by True Temper. I couldn't find any type of identification code on the shaft to be able to know exactly which model it is, but based on step pattern, weight, all of those things, it's essentially an S200, which is what most wedge shafts are. When you think about the S300, S400, S200, those used to be all weight sorted a long time ago, and basically now you've got your standard stock wedge shaft from a lot of companies would be an S200, you'll see some S300, and then you get into the tour issue S400, which is slightly heavier and also weight sorted, so they're within, I think it's roughly half a gram. Now the big one. Let's talk about the actual heads themselves. So I have the set here, 52, 56, and 60. Pull them out. First thing I noticed, and this is always one of those things, and I've done a video on this in the past, is the hosel bore. Hosel bores are nice and centered. All right, so when it comes to checking quality and all of these different things, this is the first step, because it means that they're paying attention, because you'll see a lot of like really cheap, inexpensive components, and these hosel bores are not even close to center, or they'll be off center. So you'll have where the specs that they are intended to be, or the lies and loss, are not even close. Or what they do is the shaft goes in, they get bent to spec, but in reality, the head itself is only bent to spec relative to the shaft axis, which is how it's measured, versus the important thing, which is the actual club specs themselves. Now, the other part of this is weight. Right now, we have to remember, the Kirkland wedges don't come in a lot of options. They come in gap, sand, lob, 52, 56, 60. And that allows them to make a lot of components in essentially one mold per club head, right? So you've only got 3. A lot of other companies, a lot of the OEMs are producing clubs across the spectrum, which have all kinds of different groove configurations. When we think about something like Voki or TaylorMade or Mizuno, where they've altered the grooves depending on the loft to maximize performance. So you don't have those with these, but through testing, they've obviously performed very well from a spin perspective. So there is that to consider. Now the other part is you get the milled face, which I kind of mentioned, and the grooves, but also head weight. Now head weight factors into the idea of dialing in the swing weight or total weight, whatever you're trying to nail down. And with these, they came out pretty much on spec to like what a lot of other companies, what you'd find, where the gap wedge was right around, I think, 298. Then we had 302, 303 on the sand wedge, and then 304, I think it was 304, 305 on the lob wedge. So they're going through different weight categories to find the right club head. Now here's the other cool thing, which I think is important to mention, okay, when it comes to design, is with these, it's all about shifting mass. Now these are right-handed wedges. I think they show up left-handed in the video. You'll notice on the top of the 52, very thin. So there's a lot more mass positioned low. But when you get into the 60, you start to see this muscle pad at the top get thicker. So we're starting to shift mass up on the face, away from the hosel, to help optimize center of gravity and total spin performance. And you get that with these wedges. I haven't actually been able to set them down and really go through the process of finding exactly where they balance. But overall, I mean, there is a lot of design and time that went into crafting these. The reason, and I talked about this in the past, I was actually one of the first people to spot these on the USGA RNA conforming list. And that is because, when it comes to a golf ball, you can outsource. When it comes to a putter, you can outsource. When it comes to wedges, you can outsource. Because as far as design is concerned, the wedge design hasn't changed a lot in the last 50 years in reality. Now we're seeing a lot more multi-material wedges. We're seeing multi-piece wedges. We're seeing wedges where we're really starting to shift a lot of mass. So you've got, again, things like Cleveland with their zip core. You've got the Vokey with the tungsten out on the bottom portion of the toe. You've got the ES from Mizuno, which is a multi-piece. You've got, those are the big guns, right? So all of them are taking multi-material or some type of different process to get to where they are as far as absolutely maximizing performance, as well as changing the configurations that are available. You've got different finishes, you've got different grind options, right and left-handed. All of these things factor into producing wedges that are going to fit golfers down to every specific characteristic they could possibly have. This is a box wedge set, right? It's very straightforward. Gap wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, full sole grind, not a lot to it, right? A little bit of camber, not a huge amount, but no, you're not seeing, it's a very simple design, but it's all about fitting a lot of golfers. We are in a time where there are a lot of people getting into the game. So as far as value is concerned, I think these are really hard to beat. But if you're looking to maximize performance, if you play in different ground conditions, if you really start to notice the shots that you're trying to hit, or where your sand conditions vary, and you do find a difference in performance, then this is probably not the set that you're really looking for. If you're a golfer that is interested in maximizing value, you're a beginner golfer and you're probably not going to notice a huge amount of difference in bounce and grind configurations. And again, because they do have a wider sole, they're a bit more forgiving as well when you think about the idea of hitting shots out of fluffy sand or the style of shot that you're going to hit. And that's basically what goes into these wedges. 3 wedges, same shaft, cut to length, 1 grip. So in reality, for this box set of wedges, there are 5 components involved. Now, that allows them to reduce costs immensely beyond the box and the packaging, and that's where you get this value. Now, is it from a total performance, grind options, finish options, all of these things? You're not going to get that, but you do get that from all of the OEMs. And they're not competing with that. I mean, from a price perspective, you could say that they are, but in reality, they're not. They're designed to offer the best possible value they can in a very simple standard configuration. Now, the other part of this is, as a club builder, not only did I take them apart, weigh them, but I also bent them. I made sure they were to spec, so when I do have the opportunity to actually test them, although I have to rebuild them now anyways, they weren't the easiest to bend. So although they are what do they say? It says carbon steel on the hosel. Nothing really definitive beyond that. And there's a lot of different variations of that. There's a lot of different grades of that. But there's also heat treating processes, right? There are ways to make the metal play a little harder, play a little softer. That's how a lot of the miraging steels on fairy woods are done. They take a steel, they heat treat it to make it faster. They can make it thinner. They can make it stronger. All these different processes that are designed to change the characteristics of metal. I don't know if they've done that with this because, again, most people are going to grab them, they're going to unwrap them, they're going to throw them in their golf bag, and they're never going to worry about them again. I was able to bend them. Noticed, put a few little small marks in, I think it was the 60 at first. So, I mean, they are soft, but it's just one of those things where you do get the performance, you do get all the options with other OEMs, with the OEMs that, you just don't get with these, and that's okay. Because it's about providing options, and that's what you get with these. So you get wedge with grooves that are going to spin a lot. You get some CG movement, which they've talked about. If you could go online, Southern California Design Company, which also helped do some previous work with some OEMs as far as designing some irons and wedges. They've also done some other golf companies, which you can find out online. So, similar things, mass movement, performance in the grooves, and, it's all about value. So if you have questions, use the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer. Probably going to rebuild these to my spec, go through the process of adding some funky ferrules. I don't know if I'm going to stamp them yet or not. We'll see. But, it's going to be fun to take these out and try them out. It's not the grinds that I would normally play on my wedges, but it's going to be something that I'm excited to try either way. So remember, if you have questions or comments, please use them below. I'll be happy to answer out. And stay tuned, because we're gonna rebuild these and have some fun along the way testing them. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.